Welcome everybody to the first ever episode of The Crimson Mask, my new wrestling podcast where I kind of just talk about whatever I feel like talking about in wrestling. This first episode, a bit of a double header. I'll be reviewing the first ever Wrestle Kingdom 1, held January 4th, 2007, and then the first ever NXT takeover event. It's actually not technically a takeover event because it's NXT Arrival, but that's what I'll be referring to it as. So yeah, this being the first episode might be a little rocky. I'm just kind of running off notes I take during the matches. Not really sure how to express everything, just kind of read off my notes and work it all out, see what I remember. So please do forgive me if this is a little rocky, a little strange. We'll work on it as it is. If there's a demand and interest in this, I'll think about putting this onto actual podcasting platforms, but it's just going to go on YouTube for now. So let's just start off right away, get into it. January 4th, 2007. It is Wrestle Kingdom 1. I just finished watching. I literally just finished the main event and then started recording this. I watched the NXT show a few hours ago, but we'll be talking about that after. So yeah, this is an so it's an older New Japan show, so it's all Japanese comms, no English commentary for this one. And for some reason on New Japan World, they don't present it in the full version. It's all cut up into separate matches, which I actually didn't mind, but there'll be some things I'll talk about as we go on into this. So our first match of the evening is a 6-man tag match. It is Masanobu Fuchi, Ryusuke Taguchi, and El Samurai versus Akira Raijin, Kikutaro, and Nobutaka Araya. So from the Wrestle Kingdom thing on the main page, it's a mess. So I couldn't work it out. I had to look it up on Wikipedia to work out who was in this match, and I had to copy and paste the names off Wikipedia because I wasn't going to retype them out. All of the matches on this card have little subtitles. I would just mention that the subtitle for this match is "Welcome to Tokyo Dome, New Year Funny Waltz," and if that is how they want to describe this match, that's how I will describe this match also. Funny waltz. So, first kind of thing I got written here is that Taguchi kind of looks like Ichiban Kasuga from Yakuza 7 at this point. He's got a bit of a fuzzy afro gimmick going on with his hair. But yeah, as I'm watching this match, I didn't really know who was who. I kind of worked out some of it by just process of elimination, because I know who Ryusuke Taguchi is, I know who El Samurai is. I worked out that Kikutaro was the pink guy in the match, this weird pink guy, and then once I worked that out, the referee just kind of slaps him, just slaps the shit out of Kikutaro. It's crazy. I didn't get it. And then there's this spot where the ref's trying to count a pin for Kikutaro, but he keeps breaking himself out of it. So then the ref just keeps beating the shit out of him. It's weird. And then Kikutaro low blows the ref. And I mean, well deserved, honestly. That ref was just fucking with him. But yeah, that's basically this match. It's a bit of a weird there. Kikutaro actually does a really, really nice looking moonsault, which I was not expecting. He's a bit of a portly looking fella. Wasn't expecting a moonsault quite as good as his was. But yeah, ultimately the match ends. Taguchi beats Kikutaro with the Dodon, and the music cuts out right away, muted for copyright, fade to black. Don't know really what to say about this one. I gave it a star rating out of dud, which means I should probably talk about my star ratings. So I will go from the old Meltzer style, -5 to +5, although actually it's not really Meltzer style because he'll go to 6, 7, 8, whatever. I will stick -5, +5. 1, 0 to 1 kind of is just I did not like it, or it kind of was a nothing match. Dud kind of fits into that category. 1 to 2, not enjoyable, probably bad actually. 2 to 3, like meh, like just not good, but not the worst thing ever. 3 to 4, like it's a decent match. 4, 4 to 5, good matches. 5, like perfect, wonderful, I love it. And it's all based on my own enjoyment. I'm not going to pretend to be very objective about this. It's about what I like. And we'll be talking about that a bit more when I talk about things I like. But the next match is Jado and Gedo versus Tokyo Gurentai. I forgot to get the names of the 2 members of Tokyo Gurentai. It is Mazada and Nosawa Rongai. Those are the members of Tokyo Gurentai. So the subtitle of this match is Artistic Tag Team Battle. And nothing, I think, says artistic like going and brawling out to the outside immediately. Start of the match. That's how we do it. I noticed one of the guys from Tokyo Gurentai has a Hello Kitty shirt. I never really was able to discern who was who. I noticed it. Like, Jado looks good in this match. He looks built. Like, 13 years ago, like, Jado and Gedo. I put here that, like, Gedo has aged 1,000 years in the last 13 years. So has Jado. They both look good. In this match, there's some decent kind of spots. I remember there was some good like tag team spots and stuff like that. I wrote that Gedo has nasty tasting hands allegedly because the both members of Tokyo Gurentai start biting his fingers and then they're like so I guess Gedo's hands taste like shit. Gurentai did this cool like wheelbarrow like suplex thing. I think it was to Gedo. They did a lot of like getting heat on Gedo, like to build up to a hot tag to Jado. But yeah, they did this cool kind of wheelbarrow suplex thing. It was cool. I've never really seen it before. Yeah, as I kind of mentioned, it was building to the hot tag to Jado. Comes in, just Germans, both members of Gurentai. Jado goes into a crossface. Big fan of his hero Chris Benoit, which then also Gedo does a Superfly Splash. Shout out to Jimmy Snooker. Big fans of Murderers are Jado and Gedo here tonight. Oh yeah, there was this like botched kind of like tombstone that happened onto Gedo. So like one of the Gurentai, I think it was onto Gedo. One of the Gurentai guys had Gedo up and he was gonna, I think, do the Taiji Ishimori gimmick. I think it's the Bloody Cross, or is that his like DDT kind of thing? But like not quite the tombstone, but you hold him up in the tombstone position, and then just the Gedo kind of like floats it over, and it's just, or it's the other way around. But it looked bad. It looked like someone was gonna get hurt. Gedo just pulls out a wooden stick. Huge. I'm all in for the wooden stick. It was actually just to distract the referee, so Jado can low blow the Hello Kitty guy. First of many, many nut shots on this match. Gedo wins with the Superfly Splash, which I called the Murderer Splash on my notes. It was a decent match. That's all I can really say about it. I gave it 3 stars. Both teams looked good. Jado and Gedo can still go at this point. I don't know much about Tokyo Gurentai. I'm pretty sure the story of Wrestle Kingdom 1 is that it's a crossover show between All Japan and New Japan. So there's a lot of guys I don't really know. I don't know much about 2000s All Japan. There's probably a lot I don't know about late 2000s, mid 2000s New Japan. Match 3, 6-person tag team match. It is Togi Makabe, Toru Yano, and Tomohiro Ishii versus Buchanan, Travis Tomko, and D'Lo Brown, which, when I saw these names, I didn't really know why this was happening. The subtitle of this match is Rockin' Your Hearts of the Fucking Outlaws, but fucking is censored. But yeah, Rocking Your Hearts of the Fucking Outlaws. That's a great subtitle for a match. Big shout out to Yana with the gold hair. I love seeing Yano with that gold hair. It's like the serious, like, shooter Yano, and that's what we did get here. I wrote, why is this a match? I kind of mentioned that, like, why is Bull Buchanan, Travis Tomko, and D'Lo Brown in New Japan and teaming? I mean, Togi Makabe, Toru Yano, and Tomohiro Ishii sounds like a really great team. I think at some point I saw Naito in his young lion form around the ring, which I see another young lion a bit later on, who I recognize. We'll get to that. Tomko, though, in this match is, like, shredded. Dude looks good. And he performs pretty good as well, from what I remember. I wrote here, because of this kind of, like, pairing, I was like, Ishii needs to get out of Chaos and, like, either start his own faction or just join some faction of, like, just ass kickers. Like, Ishii and Suzuki-gun would be awesome. Like, that's just what Ishii needs to be doing. Because he is already an ass kicker. He's already out here kicking ass. And I think he just needs to be in a faction of just other people do that. Not in the same faction as Yoshihashi. This match just kind of is stuff going on. D'Lo can still do the moonsault in 2007. They're tagging in pretty quick. The Gaijin team of Buchanan, Tomko, and D'Lo, they do a lot of, like, big kind of moves. It's quite good. Like, I'm very impressed with Tomko when he gets, like, a chance to, like, do a move. Like, he does a lot of cool moves. Makabe wins with a lariat. It was whatever. I'm not into clusterfuck multi-mans like this, and seeing them here in Wrestle Kingdom, the first ever Wrestle Kingdom, is a bit rough. 2 stars for that one. And as I was talking about multi-man matches, we're going into an 8-person tag team match. We got Giant Bernard, and a name that I thought was Roz at first. I'll talk about who I realized Roz is in a second. Suwama and Taru versus Manabu Nakanishi, Naofumi Yamamoto, Riki Choshu, and Takashi Iizuka. So this match is subtitled Dimension Zero. I wrote another huge multi-man, which I was not looking forward to. It just kind of starts with a big brawl, like the match introductions happen, and then they'll just start beating the crap out of each other, as you probably expect from a match like this. The match ends up actually gaining a structure, but, like, I'm already pretty lost by this point. I'm already not feeling it, is probably the best way of putting it. Nakanishi does this cool, like, Irish whip where he, like, whips the opponent. I don't remember who he did it on, but, like, he follows it immediately with a rolling lariat into the turnbuckle, and I thought that was really cool. That's why I made a note of it. And then I realized Roz is actually supposed to be Raw Z, because it's Rosie, who was in WWE, tagged with the Hurricane, did some other stuff, but that's what I remember Rosie for, mainly. Something got botched at some point, and I couldn't tell what it was at the time, and I don't really remember. I think it was a sling blade. I don't remember who did it, but it looked rough. I assume. I don't really remember now, even though it was a few hours ago, but I made a note, so it probably looked pretty bad. But as soon as that botch happened, they just tagged straight into Riki Choshu, who's way over. The crowd reacted to him really strongly before the match started, and as soon as he gets in, he just starts killing dudes. The crowd is hot for it. I'm hot for it. I love seeing a dude kill dudes, and he tags in Manabu Nakanishi, and then Nakanishi just starts killing dudes. He does this awesome bit where he puts Taru into the torture rack. Suwama comes into the ring. He throws Taru at Suwama off of the torture rack, and then Rosie gets in the ring, and he torture racks Rosie, and Rosie's a big guy, so the crowd pop hard. And yeah, I think that was a pretty good little segment. But that segment happens, and then the match slows down. The team of Bernard, Rosie, Suwama, Taru, the kind of heel team, they get back into control a bit, and it just slows back down. Bernard just annihilates Yamamoto with this spinning sit-out last ride powerbomb. And when I saw that, that should have been the end of the match. It was awesome. It was great. Suwama does a great deadlift German suplex to someone. The match actually kind of kicks into another gear, especially like after that spinning sit-out last ride. And as soon as I wrote, this match has actually kicked into another gear, Suwama wins with a backdrop driver with a pin, like kind of rolled up into a pin. Overall, I wrote that the match it built quite well. It started out slow. It had some really good spots. I'm just still not super into that big clusterfuck multi-man dynamic with really no reason. I gave it 2 3/4 stars. It did impress me in some ways. Match 5, a 10-person tag match, and I was already sick of these multi-man, so I was a little apprehensive this one. The subtitle for this match, Top of the World, Arts of War. So while I was a bit apprehensive seeing a 10-man tag, I looked at the match, which I forgot to actually read out who's in this match. We got Kaz Hayashi, Koji Kanemoto, Taka Michinoku, Tiger Mask, and Wataru Inoue versus Jushin Thunder Liger, Milano Collection AT, and Minori versus Brother Yashi and Suji Kondo. And when I read that, and when I read who was actually in this, like seeing Taka, Koji, Tiger Mask, Jushin Liger, Milano, shoutouts to Milano, I was like, you know what, this match might actually slap a little bit. So this was, I guess this was their junior heavyweight showcase, because God forbid they actually defend the junior heavyweight title on this show, which, yeah, whatever, it's just your biggest show of the year. Hell, the junior title from either All Japan or New Japan, neither were defended. I don't even know who their champions were, because the entrances all got cut out on this show, except for a few. There's this a bit where like everyone just does a dive. It's cool. So Jushin Liger, I guess he's like a heel at this point. He's Dark Liger. He's got like a full black gimmick on. He does this like pop-up low blow where he pops the guy up in the air and then just catches him with his bicep into the low blow. It was kind of cool. And that's when I realized like there have been a lot of nut shots on this match. There were more in this match. I think they kind of slowed down after this match, but there were quite a lot. Milano does the Paradise Lock to Taka Michinoku, which I love me. The Paradise Lock. Shout outs to Milano. I love watching Milano in this. I think I wrote like Milano's so cool. Just got a great charisma, great wrestler. I love the whole idea of being, an Italian kind of model gimmick. I love that, especially as a Japanese man. I just love the whole Milano thing. It's a shame that he got injured when he did and cut his career short, I think, is kind of what happened. But, as a commentator, very respected in the New Japan locker room. There's a lot of cool shit that goes on in this match because it's the juniors, but it's mainly the guys I don't know who's who. So, like, I couldn't really write down, like, so-and-so does this spot, because I didn't know who Minori was, or Brother Yashi, or Shuji Kondo, or Wataru Inoue. Like, I didn't recognize them, I didn't know, so, like, I just couldn't write down that stuff. Tiger Mask just does this tilt-a-whirl tombstone, and it's just a transitional move, and it's crazy, but, like, it just happens. Tiger Mask wins with the Tiger Suplex, as you can see everyone on the ramp, like, just brawling to the back. But yeah, I would say this was the best multi-man of the match. Just a lot of cool stuff. It was a junior multi-man, so they were going to do a lot of cool shit. Still not really my thing, even if it, moved at a really fast pace. Would have much rather 2 junior heavyweight title matches, or just one even, like singles matches, or maybe even a triple threat or a fatal 4-way. I know they're rare in New Japan, but, that's what I would like to see. But I gave this 3 1/4. I did enjoy it. mostly. So we're moving into our 6th match of the night, and now the a bit more of the serious matches are starting. Our first singles match of the night, only 6 matches in, probably like an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours in. It's a bit hard to say when it's all cut up. But yeah, our first singles match of the night, Toshiaki Kawada versus Shinsuke Nakamura. And when I saw that, I'm like, oh, that sounds good. Toshiaki Kawada, a legend of All Japan Pro Wrestling back in the 90s. I'm pretty sure he's considered one of the 4 pillars of heaven, right? So that's big. And Shinsuke Nakamura, at this point, he's not the Shinsuke Nakamura we all know and love, but he's still a big deal. I think he's already won the IWGP Heavyweight Championship at this point. I'm not quite sure, but he's still a big deal. And this is a big, it's like an old guard versus new guard kind of match, but it's also All Japan versus New Japan. It's Kings Road versus Strong Style as well. There's a lot going on in this match. The subtitle of it is Dangerous Rapture, whatever that means. So we get entrances because I'm making notes as we're watching. That's a lie. We get Shinsuke Nakamura's entrance, which was great because I love hearing Subconscious. Great entrance theme, but they just cut out Kawada's. Probably copyright things. But yeah, so it was good seeing an entrance for the first time. Only 6 matches in. So this match starts out real slow on the mat. A lot of kind of just mat grappling. A very MMA kind of style looking stuff. What there is in this early part of the match is, moving from submissions, arm bars, stuff like that. But also a lot of kicks and knees coming in. It's slow, but at that point I felt like it's slow by design. It's not slow because they're lazy workers. It's slow because it's probably about to be a Kings Road match. There's a bit where Nakamura locks in the armbar, and Kawada sells it like death, because the way it kind of happened is Nakamura had the armbar, but I guess it wasn't properly locked in, because I guess Kawada was trying to fight it. But Kawada reaches the ropes, so I guess at that point Kawada kind of stops fighting the armbar, because Shinsuke Nakamura has to break it up. But at that point Shinsuke Nakamura applies more pressure, and Kawada is screaming in agony. It was great. I really liked it. And then after that, I don't know how much after that, but at some point Kawada just goes sicko mode and just starts beating the shit out of Shinsuke, just bang bang, kicking him, kneeing him. I loved it. It's great. He just got pissed. I think it was over the not breaking up the armbar in the rope break. Just pissed him off, and he just starts almost looks like he's shooting on him. But ultimately, Shinsuke kind of gets his heat back in, takes control until Kawada hits a nice Pele to cut it off. Kawada attempts to lock in the stretch plum at this point, so shout out to his brightest and best student Taichi. There's a bit where they just trade suplex variants, just all sorts of suplex variants, just grinding each other's necks to dust. Love to see it. Kawada goes for a lariat, which Shinsuke rolls into an armbar. Very smooth. Seen Shinsuke do that kind of that spot a lot, but it always looks great. Kawada just hits Nakamura with the dirtiest powerbomb I've ever seen, and then Shinsuke Nakamura just kicks out at one and stands right up the fighting spirit of this man. So Kawada just spikes him with a brainbuster. Just fuck you. It was awesome. I only got a 2 count though. Whew. And then Kawada just kind of kicks the shit out of Nakamura and gets the win. So yeah, I really like this match. You can probably tell by me talking about it. Like I said, it was that strong style versus Kings Road, old guard versus new guard, and they played it really well. And I think this was a really good mix of that strong style and Kings Road stylings. There was that kind of strong style MMA inspired real fighting, but there was this, you know, slow burn build of the King's Road stuff from Kawada. The finish comes kind of out of nowhere, of Kawada just kicking the shit out of Shinsuke and just getting the win, but like that's part of that kind of King's Road style, and you know, I very much enjoyed it. And I wrote, that Nakamura is far from the man we all know and love, but I still think he's really good at this point. I gave this one 4.25 stars. Really liked it. First good match of the night. Well, first great match of the night. I did like the junior 6-man tag. And now we move into match 7. Minori Suzuki, the champion, versus Yuji Nagata for the Triple Crown Heavyweight Championship. Now, I will mention, I had watched this match before, last year at some point, so I knew this match goes hard. I did forget, though, they do skip Suzuki's entrance for this weird little cut-up thing, and I hate that. I love the Triple Crown titles. I love the idea of like one championship being just 3 belts, because I love guys carrying around multiple belts. Such a great look, and especially Minori Suzuki holding on to 3 belts. Oh, love it. This is when I spot a young lion, a Yujiro, in the corner of Nagata, actually. Pretty crazy. Also crazy, I wrote how Minori has not aged a day since 2007. In the last 13 years, looks just as good as he always has, and he wrestles just as good as he always has. They just get straight into beating the shit out of each other, like it's that kind of, the bell rings, they run in, they're throwing strikes, the good stuff. There's this, at the start of the match, there's this great bit where like Suzuki Irish whips Nagata into the turnbuckle, and Suzuki like runs from the other side of the ring, like, you know, full pelt, but just before he gets to Nagata, he kind of jumps up, jumps in front of Nagata, and just slaps him in the face. Just pure Chad shit. One issue with this match, and I do mention it a few times in my notes, is that like the file, the recording or whatever that they've used for this is kind of corrupt and data mushes, and just, it's really weird. It's kind of annoying, but it doesn't really take away from the match too much. So yeah, Suzuki, like, they brawl on the outside for a bit, and Suzuki just cracks a chair into the head of Nagata, like, barely 2 minutes into this match. Like, it was probably pretty safe, because it kind of looks like the chair. So, Suzuki has Nagata, like, set up on the, like, his head against the turnbuckle corner post, and Suzuki just cracks the chair into his head, and I think it was safe because I think the chair mostly hit the corner post, which created a great noise. It sounded horrible, it looked horrible, but it was probably safe, I think. But in saying that, the next time you see Nagata, he is bleeding. I'm not sure if he did gig, or, you know, if he did actually get hard weighed off that chair shot. I can't really tell. Suzuki kind of takes control at this point for a little bit, but Nagata kind of kicks a chair into his head to turn things around. Nagata hits a brainbuster on the ground, but not where the padding is, not where the padding outside the ring is, like straight onto the concrete. And that then causes Suzuki to gig, you know, starts bleeding. So both men are bleeding in this one. Good stuff. Like to see that, especially in a match like this where 2 guys are beating the hell out of each other. Seeing the blood flow, I know blading is a bit of a taboo thing. It's a bit of a carny old way of doing things, but like, I don't know, fake blood just doesn't really have the same effect. And I think every now and again when you have a match like this where it's 2 guys who just want to rip each other's heads off, a little bit of juice goes a long way, I think. Nagata does like his Fujiwara armbar gimmick, and he does like his facing where he rolls his eyes into the back of his head, but with the blood pouring down his face. It's a absolutely fantastic look. Love it. The file corruption starts getting a little bit annoying. It's not horrible, but, you know, it is constant over the whole match. Nagada tries to go for a backdrop at one point, and Minoru Suzuki kind of adjusts his whole body so he can like float over and land on his front, so he can get like straight back up and just knee Nagada right in the face. It was great. I love this match, as you can probably tell, and I'm not even finished talking about it yet. Suzuki just straight up hits the Gotch pile driver, which is really refreshing when you see a lot of his modern matches where he like never really hits it and the guy like stops him and he spends so much time hitting it. It's just great seeing him just lock it in, bang, even if Nagada kicks out at 2, but Suzuki does stall a bit. He hits the Gotch and he doesn't go straight for the pin, so it kind of makes sense that Nagada would kick out. Nagada takes control by just taking Suzuki's head off with a Shining Wizard. So Nagada does his backdrop suplex, and he has the match won, but he lifts Suzuki up just before the 3. You know, the no, I'm going to keep beating the shit out of this guy. So eventually Suzuki gets the sleeper hold locked in, which he does this great thing where he like flips Nagada over his back and then gets the sleeper locked in on the ground. Nagada does power out though and stands it back up, and you think Nagada's about to break out of it, and then he just passes out. Referee stops the match, and yeah, that was a great match. I probably enjoyed it more than the first time I watched it. It was just two dudes beating the shit out of each other, which is exactly what I love to see. I gave this one 4 3/4 stars, just missing something that would make it a 5-star match, but I love it. Love it. I would strongly recommend this one. Our next match of the night, it is for the Iwgp Heavyweight Championship. It is the champion Hiroshi Tanahashi versus Taiyo Kia. I hope I got that right. Now I didn't know who Taiyo Kia was before watching this. Tanahashi got his entrance, of course. They didn't cut his out. So during that time, I decided to take a second to Google who Taiyo Kia was. I saw that, and he did accomplish a lot in All Japan. He won the junior title, he won the tag titles, and he won the heavyweight title. So at that point, I realized, you know what, this might be kind of sick. So this match, it starts off with the old, like, they're doing the mat grappling, but they're very evenly matched. They do the double drop kick, then kind of have a standoff because they're so evenly matched. Crowd pops. Classic spot. You see it all the time in New Japan. Love it. And it's very back and forth for a while. Until Taiyo spills out of the ring. Tana tries to dive over the top rope. Gets cut off. They throw some strikes on the outside. And then Taiyo starts to pull up the padding. And I thought they were going to just, play around and tease a spot on the padding. But no. Taiyo just straight up hits what I described as a fireman's carry Michinoku driver onto the concrete. It looked brutal. It sounded brutal. Just Tanahashi just slapped off of the concrete. It was gross, and I love it. Eventually, Tanahashi kind of fights back, because this allowed Taiyo to get a lot of heat in for a bit, but he fights back, goes up for the high fly flow, but gets cut off into a superplex. Taiyo hits a huge jackknife powerbomb, only a 2 count. Tanahashi eventually regains control, hits some strikes, a running forearm, hits the sling blade, the classic Tanahashi kind of stuff. Does a big shotgun dropkick off of the top. Does a great German with a beautiful bridge. But eventually gets cut off. Taiyo hits a really clean looking Russian leg sweep. He then absolutely decapitates Tanahashi with a lariat, almost getting the win. Very close 2 count. I think I remember the crowd popped real hard for that one, and you know what? So did I. After that, Taiyo hits a brainbuster, only another 2 count. Tana gets a little bit of momentum, a little bit of control. He kind of sends Taiyo into the ropes. Kind of looked like Tana was going for a spinebuster or something, but Taiyo just hits his DDT out of nowhere, and it's like, it looks like the kind of move someone half his size would do. Taiyo is a big guy, and he just does this big kind of lift up DDT. Great stuff. But eventually, Tana folds Taiyo over with this just amazing looking exploder. After that exploder, once I think Taiyo got up, Tana goes for a sling blade, but it gets caught into a side suplex. Then Taiyo lifts Tana up again and hits him with an even dirtier, more scuffed looking sleeper suplex. And only a 2 count again. Taiyo does this awesome, like, he gets Tana up for the Death Valley driver, but he kind of follows it almost into a power slam, which Tana kicks out of. The crowd go crazy, and you know what? I'm going crazy too. This is crazy. Taiyo hits a big sit-out powerbomb, but it still is not enough to put away the ace, the one-in-a-century talent, Tanahashi. Oh my god. So Taiyo locks in the Cobra Clutch, which Tana actually turns around into a trapped arm German, which he then hits a dragon suplex, gets up to the top, the high fly flow for the win, and oh my god, I loved this match. I wasn't really sure if I would love this match, especially because I didn't know who Taiyo was, but this was awesome, and I loved almost every second of it. It felt like a big match the whole way and never really slowed down. Both of them looked really good. And this shows why Hiroshi Tanahashi is a one-in-a-century talent. From watching a lot of modern New Japan, sometimes, I don't know, I feel like maybe I just don't get the whole Tanahashi thing. Sometimes I watch Tanahashi matches and I'm like, I don't get it. But I mean, and there are some matches I love. I remember I loved his match with Kenny Omega at Wrestle Kingdom, whichever Wrestle Kingdom that was. But sometimes I just watch a Tanahashi match and I don't get it. But this match, I loved it. Even though I didn't know who Taiyo was, I didn't know the build for it. There probably wasn't a build for it. The whole build was just that. It's all Japan versus New Japan. But this match was awesome. If you can't tell, 5 stars for this one. I loved it. Strong recommendation. But unfortunately, it is not the main event. Your main event of the evening. It is the team of Tenkozy, Hiroshi, Tenzan, and Satoshi Kojima versus Keiji Muto and Masahiro Chono. Now, I believe the reason for this match, it is a tribute to the late Shinya Hashimoto, one of the greatest IWGP heavyweight champions of all time. And especially, I think, for Keiji Muto and Masahiro Chono, either for both of them or for one of them, probably the first time back in New Japan for a long time. I was a little apprehensive about this one because I just watched that amazing match between Hiroshi Tanahashi and Taiyo Kiya, and I was like, there's a lot of talent in this match, so I was hopeful. Muto just comes right out the gate with a bunch of Shining Wizards, just throwing knees everywhere. The crowd are going nuts. And then it just kind of falls off a little bit. A lot. Tenzan hits a really strange looking suplex. I actually did like the look of it. It just looked a bit strange. Chono does a figure 4. Muto does an STF, like in unison. Both on, either Kojima and Tenzan. And at this point, I'm just like, this match isn't working for me. I ain't enjoying it. Kojima does the old machine gun chops spot, which looks stupid, but, I love it. Kojima does a top rope Frankenstein to Muto, which kind of surprised me because I wasn't expecting Muto to take that bump. And speaking of not wanting to take bumps, Tenzan goes for a move that I think was supposed to be a side effect, or maybe a Uranagi, but it just doesn't work because it didn't look like Chono really wanted to take that bump. Then Tenkozy do their unison submission spot. Tenkozy do a really awkward, I wrote 3D question mark. I'm not really sure if that's even what it was supposed to be, because it just looked bad. Muto uses, so like, what happened here? Because I wrote Muto uses a ref who was on the ground for some reason to do an assisted Shining Wizard. I think Tenkozy had Chono in like some double team move that they were going for. The referee was on all fours for some reason, and Muto jumps off of him with a Shining Wizard. I had to write that spot because it was a spot that happened. Tenzan hits a move on Chono and decides to lift him out of the pin instead of winning, which we saw a little bit earlier. Tenzan hits a beautiful moonsault, which I didn't know he ever did, but it was really nice. Chono and Muto do like a double Shining Wizard, or one of them does a drop kick, but I don't know, I think it was a double Shining Wizard. And Chono ultimately gets the win with the STF on Tenzan. Muto's also got the figure 4 locked in. Yeah, I didn't really like this one. Like, I wrote these spots, but there was a lot more that just... Well, to say there's a lot more that happened isn't really true, but there's just a lot of nothing in between all of these spots. When reading these spots back, it sounds like an action-packed field match, but they were just botched spots, and just... I don't know. Chono and Muto are definitely out of their prime at this point, in their 40s, I believe. Yeah, I don't know if that should have been the main event, but it was a tribute to Shinya Hashimoto, so maybe that's why it was the main event, and maybe I won't complain there, but ultimately I gave it 2.25 stars, maybe a little generous, but shoutouts to Shinya Hashimoto, rest in peace. And overall for this show, it was very up and down. The first kind of half of it, like all those multi-mans, kind of suck, especially for Wrestle Kingdom, which is, you know, their biggest show. I mean, I guess it was the first Wrestle Kingdom. It wasn't the first January 4th show. That had been going on for a very long time, but it was the first Wrestle Kingdom, and it was a little rough. But all the singles matches, Kawada versus Nakamura, Suzuki versus Nagada, Tanahashi versus Taiyo Kia, all of those 3 matches were awesome. And Tana versus Taiyo was my easy match of the night. The worst match of the night, I don't know, one of the multi-mans. I can't really be bothered working that out. So that was the first Wrestle Kingdom, ladies and gentlemen. An iffy show, but I'm looking forward to continuing to watch Wrestle Kingdoms in the future. But now I'll be moving on to my review of NXT Arrival, the first NXT kind of pay-per-view. I believe it was the first thing aired on the WWE Network. First WWE Network exclusive. NXT Arrival was aired live February 27th, 2014. And Triple H kind of opens the show with a bit of the DX bit, like the "Are you ready?" because it's NXT. And then like they have like the classic NXT like opening music, which was really cool. Really took me back. I used to watch a lot of the weekly NXT, which I will talk about a little bit in this one. So our opening contest for this evening, Sami Zayn versus Cesaro. Now this is a bit of a long kind of feud. I think this is after their 2 out of 3 falls match, or their best of 3 series, whatever it was. I feel like I remember watching that on weekly NXTs. I never watched this show back when it happened, because the network came out real late in Australia, so I didn't watch it at the time. But I'd watch their earlier matches. So I wrote firstly that Sami Zayn has a really weird theme at this point. Kind of sounded a bit bootleg Rage Against the Machine. Far cry from his eventual Scar theme, which is great. And I did write that we have William Regal, Tom Phillips, and Byron Saxton on commentary. Now, with a bit of recency bias, I'm seeing Byron Saxton. I was a little scared because Byron Saxton sucks, but I do remember Byron Saxton was okay on NXT. I think he was okay. And seeing We the People Cesaro, that really took me back. At some point, before the match starts, Tom Phillips mentions that JBL was the general manager of NXT at this point, which is, I don't remember that being the case, but I guess it was. I just feel like Regal was always the general manager of NXT. Oh, and I guess Dusty was the commissioner as well. We do see Dusty at some point in the audience tonight. So I wrote, bro, this match is gonna fuck, because of course it will. It's Sami Zayn versus Cesaro. What do you think? Match starts with some We the People versus Sami Zayn chants. The match starts, it's that kind of starting with mat wrestling until Cesaro pulls out a drop kick, which was a bit of a surprise. Sami hits a dive to the outside. At some point, Cesaro catches Sami with a tilt-a-whirl backbreaker. The strength of Cesaro always over with me. Cesaro keeps tossing Sami to the outside, which did annoy me a little bit. I didn't particularly like that spot. They just kept going to the outside over and over. It did mean that Sami tried to do his spot where he jumps between the turnbuckle pads, through the apron to try to do the DDT. But as he does, Cesaro just kills him with the European uppercut. And then from there, Cesaro starts working on Sami's left leg. A lot of working on the leg. Does some continuous dragon screws and stuff like that. Really good work on that leg. So at some point they're they're on the outside, closest to the rampway, and Sami Zayn does a springboard moonsault kind of thing, and Cesaro just kind of catches him and just slams him into the ramp, which was a crazy spot. And then that leads to the count out spot, where Sami Zayn's so close, it's 9. I wrote the New Japan 19 spot, but obviously in WWE it's a count of 10. Gets in just at the last second at 9. Sami gets an exploder in the corner to get some momentum back, get back in the control. At this point, I noticed that there's a bunch of marks on the hard cam that have Mojo Rawley shirts, which I can only assume are his friends and family, because nobody gives a fuck about Mojo Rawley. I actually didn't even realize he was booked on this show, because I was about to say, you guys are fucking idiots if he wasn't booked on this show, but we'll get to Mojo Rawley in a bit. Sami does a Koji clutch, which Cesaro reverses into a stretch muffler. I love it. Cesaro does the swing, gets 10 rotations on the swing. The crowd counted. I didn't. I always love Cesaro's double stomps. A lot of impact and just always looks good. Sami gets Cesaro on the turnbuckle on the corner post. Goes for a top rope Hurricane Rana, which then Cesaro almost reverses into a top rope Ricola bomb. But then as he lifts Sami Zayn up, Sami Zayn does get the Hurricane Rana in. It's an awesome spot. Love it. Sami Zayn hits the Helluva kick, which Cesaro somehow kicks out of. I noticed that the Mojo Rawley marks just are sitting there in silence. They don't care about this wonderful match that's going on because it doesn't have Mojo Rawley in it. At this point, because Cesaro's just been beating the shit out of Sami Zayn, he's just going to Sami stay down, you idiot. Stay down, you dumb idiot. And I just wrote, why does Cesaro's European uppercuts fuck so hard? Because at this point, he's just... Every time Sami Zayn gets back up off the ground, Cesaro just, bang, hits him with another European uppercut. And I always thought that the European uppercut looked kind of silly until I saw Cesaro do them. He looks like he kills people with them. For some reason, the ref starts doing a 10 KO count for Sami every time he's down. Cesaro hits him with the European uppercut, and the ref starts going 1, 2, which is really weird. But especially they never really said that was a rule in the match knockout. But whatever. Maybe they said on NXT TV. So Cesaro just keeps killing Sami with uppercuts. Sami keeps getting up. Eventually, like, they do a bit of a scuffle, and Sami just hits his sick Yoshi Tonic. Cesaro kicks out, and then so Cesaro does the Swiss Death where he pops you up, hits you as the European uppercut, and Sami just kicks out at one, and I'm losing my mind. Everyone's losing their mind, but eventually Cesaro does a rolling European uppercut, follows it up into the neutralizer, gets the win. Great match to start us out for NXT Arrival. Even though Sami Zayn lost, it's just this great sympathetic booking of him. Cesaro looks like a killer, just killed this man. I didn't think it was their best match. I think like some of their earlier stuff was a bit better than this. I did think it got a bit slow, especially when Cesaro kept spilling it to the outside. But I still really enjoyed this match. And I think something that's interesting about looking at this show is maybe looking at where these wrestlers have gone, because for some of these this is really interesting. Now for Sami Zayn and Cesaro, they're still employed by WWE, but you know, Cesaro, I feel like Cesaro has reached a point where he is a very solid tag team kind of hand. They've just put him in all sorts of tag teams. He's won the tag team titles a few times. Sami Zayn is the Intercontinental Champion right now, but I don't know what the plan is with Sami at all. And it's a shame because Sami Zayn is really good. And I think they should have done more with him. Maybe they can still do more with him. I mean, they should have done more with Cesaro as well, especially at this point. He was killing it in 2014. But ultimately, they're still there. I guess they're enjoying themselves if they haven't left. They haven't asked for their release or anything. But yeah, I gave this match 4.5 stars. Loved it. And moving into our next match, a match I didn't love quite as much. Mojo Rawley versus CJ Parker. Mojo gets a hype package at the start. And I wondered to myself at this point, is Mojo Rawley still employed by WWE? Or was he let go as a part of that big COVID release? I feel like he probably should have been, but for some reason, I'm sure Vince loves Mojo for some reason, and he's probably still there. Can't be bothered looking it up. Brandy Rhodes is on the ring announcing, which I forgot that's what she did. I mean, I guess she's not Brandy Rhodes at this point, but it's just kind of crazy seeing her in that capacity. She doesn't have a huge head on her yet, and you know, has essentially set herself up to be the Stephanie McMahon of AEW yet, but we'll get there. I actually think CJ Parker is a decent gimmick. This kind of like heel hippie kind of gimmick. It's just a kind of a shame that they made him lose every single match. Like William Regal at some point on commentary is like, oh, you know, CJ Parker is a bit of a stupid dumb hippie. I hate him. But you know, once he gets in that ring, he knows what he's doing. It's serious business. But like, no, he just lost this match in like, I don't know, like 3 minutes to Mojo. He just puts his dick in CJ's face. You know, Juice, CJ, you're gonna be better off in a couple of years when you go to New Japan, so don't worry about it. And what has Mojo done? I don't know. Star rating, dud. And that's your little thing about where these two are at. Mojo has done, I think didn't he win an Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal? That's what he did. CJ Parker or Juice Robinson now, 2 or 3 time IWGP United States champion. Pretty over in Japan, I think. Like, he gets good reactions and stuff, and I like him. He had some great matches with Jon Moxley when Jon Moxley first got to New Japan. One of my favorites of last year, actually, 2019, between Juice and Mox. So yeah, moving into the next match. This was a weird one. I was not expecting this. We have NXT Tag Team Champions, The Ascension, versus Too Cool, Scotty 2 Hotty, and Grandmaster Sexay, Brian Christopher. This is for the NXT Tag Team Championship. But before this match, we get an Emma hype package. And I love Emma, but I'll talk about Emma later. We're talking about The Ascension versus Too Cool. And then we get a hype package for The Ascension. There's a lot of hype packages on this show. The Ascension, I had to look them up on Wikipedia. Actually, you know what? We'll talk about that after I talk about the match. So yeah, Scotty 2 Hotty is bald, at this point. It looks really weird. He actually looks a lot like Christopher Daniels, I think. And rest in peace, Brian Christopher. Really sad that we lost him as early as he did. And this match starts out really hot. The Ascension just beat the shit out of Brian Christopher, Grandmaster Sexay. It's great. We do get a bit of a rest hold, brother, but I'll let him off on that. So like the Ascension just beat down Grandmaster Sexay. The whole point to build into the hot tag for Scotty 2 Hottie, and he comes in, gets the momentum flowing for Too Cool, but eventually, Scotty goes for the Worm, and the crowd are going wild. I'm going wild. I love me the Worm, but it gets cut off by Victor. Ascension crushes Scotty 2 Hottie with the Fuller Man for the win, and I did enjoy this match. It was short, but like it made the Ascension look like killers. They just looked so dominating here, and a team like Too Cool, they're just going to come in for one payday. They just put these guys over. Good stuff. And now I can talk about the Ascension, what I looked up on Wikipedia, and they've done nothing since leaving. They were released in 2019, and they've done nothing since leaving, and they did nothing after leaving NXT as well. They got buried immediately on the main roster by, like, I'm pretty sure in the first match they had, the commentators were like, oh, who are these Legion of Doom dickhead ripoffs? It was fucking shit. And I genuinely believe if they booked the Ascension like this, like killers, nobody would give a shit that they'll bootleg Legion of Doom ripoffs or whatever. Like, I think if they were booked right, they would have been great, because they were great. But whatever. Rest in peace of the Ascension. I mean, there's not much to talk about what Too Cool has done. Scotty 2 Hottie has made sporadic appearances since then. I believe he's a firefighter or something. And I did mention, unfortunately, Brian Christopher passed away. Believe he killed himself in jail or something like that. But rest in peace to Brian Christopher. Did I say I gave this 3.25 stars? I gave it 3.25 stars. Our next match, it is for the NXT Women's Championship. The champion Paige will be taking on Emma. Now, I have a lot to say about this match. Well, not actually really this match, but this feud, this rivalry. Because, like I said, I didn't watch this show. But I did watch the first Emma Paige match for the title to determine who's the first champion, because that was on NXT Weekly, which I used to watch because back then, like, it was on WWE.com exclusively in the US, but it was actually aired on TV here in Australia. So I used to watch a lot of NXT at that point. I mean, I remember watching when Seth won the NXT title for the first time and stuff like that. But I watched that Emma and Paige match, and as a result, like, this kind of angle between them, it's really important to me. But we'll go on to that after I talk about the match. Before the match, they cut to Charlotte and Ric Flair in the crowd, and Charlotte looks way different. Honestly, she looks kind of older than she does now, 6 years later? And then Steph comes out, and I was kind of like, oh, here's Steph coming out and telling us why she's responsible for all the great things that women has ever done. And in fact, she created women in general, and that was just the Steph thing. And she's like, oh, being a WWE diva is about being empowered. Not in 2014, it wasn't. It was very soon to start getting better, but not right now, Steph, not right now. Emma comes out to the ring, and they cut to the commentary booth, and William Regal is doing the Emma dance. He's doing the Emma dance. It was great. I love Emma. I love William Regal. And this move just starts hot. Paige and Emma do not like each other. They just go for it. But then we move into some rest holds. At this point, I noticed that the people with the Mojo Rawley shirts, there were significantly less of them at this point. So assumably, a whole bunch of them went home after they watched Mojo Rawley versus CJ Parker. They only came to this fucking show to watch that match. God forbid they had to sit through Sami Zayn and Cesaro first. There's this bit where, like, they're on the apron and the cameraman misses, like, a drop kick or something. Like, Paige is kind of powders onto the apron. Regal's like, oh, that's the hardest part of the ring and everything. Not really sure what happened since the cameraman missed it. And neither are the commentators, really. Emma does a tarantula. She has a name for it, but I forgot what it was. Emma's move, the Emma sandwich, which is like into the turnbuckle, is a bit shit. Like, she does like a little dive while the opponent's sitting in the turnbuckle. It's not great. But then Emma does her powerbomb, which, seeing that powerbomb again after all these years, it hits different. It hits different. Because, not in this match, but I'm pretty sure she does it in their first title match. But she did the powerbomb, and I remember watching that and being like, what the fuck? A woman doing a powerbomb? And I know that sounds bad, but you gotta understand what state the Divas division was at this point. So seeing a woman do a powerbomb, it changed things. It hit different. Once she did her powerbomb, the crowd started chanting, better than Batista. Took me a couple seconds to pick it up, but that's what they were saying. I think this was just after Batista came and won the Royal Rumble, which no one wanted. So that's, I think, why. Emma kicks out the Paige Turner, but eventually Paige does her like really cool submission. I don't remember what the name of it is, and neither does any of the commentators, because I think this is the first time she ever did it. But yeah, this was a good match. Emma taps out to that submission. I mean, from hindsight, from nostalgia, I prefer the first match. I should probably go back and watch it. But I did enjoy this one. And yeah, and I just kind of want to talk about like what this feud means to me, because like I was kind of alluding to with the Emma powerbomb, that first match that they had, Emma versus Paige to determine who was going to be the first NXT Women's Champion, that changed my entire perspective of women's wrestling, because at that point I'd been so used to watching WWE's women's division that like I didn't really think that women were just like legitimately at all capable of putting on a good match. And I remember sitting there watching that match on NXT, and I remember, and that's the thing, like when Emma hit that powerbomb, I was like, shit, this is different. And yeah, and that's why I think this feud means a lot to me. And I think it means maybe a lot to a lot of people. I mean, some people might all, put it down to the four horsewomen, Sasha, Charlotte, Bayley, and Becky. They're the ones who changed it. But for me, it's Emma and Paige. They're the ones who changed it for me, because I saw them have their great matches, and I thought, yep, I'm a believer now of women's wrestling. And on that, I want to talk a little bit about Emma, because I loved Emma. And maybe I'm a little biased because I'm Australian, she's Australian, and for me, growing up, I always wanted like an Australian in WWE to look up to and everything like that. So having, I was an adult at this point. I was 19 when this match happened. Yes, 19 when this match happened. So like, it wasn't about looking up to an Australian, but like, yeah, I was very happy to see an Australian, and especially like the first kind of like women's wrestler that I really noticed was great. It was great to have that as an Australian. So yeah, I might be a little biased about Emma, but I really think they should have done more with her. I know she's gone on to like Ring of Honor or Impact or something as Tenille Dashwood, but like, I think WWE really squandered her. Yeah, maybe she wasn't as good as Paige or the other horsewomen, but she was still good. And yeah, maybe Bayley did her gimmick better, and I think that was a big problem for Emma. She just couldn't find her footing after losing this gimmick and becoming a heel and everything. But I don't know, I just feel like they could have done so much more with Emma. I mean, I'm glad that, the Iconics are filling that Australian void. Rhea Ripley, even though right now, the end of November 2020, what is Rhea Ripley doing? Shrug, I don't know. But that's a rant for another time. But yeah, I think they could have done more with Emma, but we got some great Australian girls representing the country over in WWE right now. 3 3/4 stars for this match. I did enjoy it. Now, I wrote here match 5, Xavier Woods versus Tyler Breeze, because that's what I thought this was. But we'll talk about it. We get a hype package for Adrian Neville first, which is something that they do. They just show the hype package for a later match before someone else's match. Xavier Woods comes out to Somebody Call My Mama, Brodus Clay's theme, and I think also Ernest Cat Miller used that theme as well. They've recycled that theme a lot, and this is a really cursed alternate timeline look at Xavier Woods. Like, seeing him do this weird gimmick, I was like, what the fuck? And then Tyler Breeze comes out. I love Tyler Breeze at this point. One of my favorites around this time. I wrote God Run Tyler right here. So like at this point I'm starting to think, you know what, this might be a little bit of a sleeper hit. Like Tyler Breeze versus Xavier Woods is might actually slap real hard. I used to watch TNA back in the day. I remember Consequences Creed. Xavier Woods can work. Tyler Breeze can work. Let's go. Rusev's music hits. Rusev hits the ring. Rusev just beats the shit out of both Xavier Woods and Tyler Breeze. It's crazy to think that of these three men, Rusev is the only one that's gone here. Xavier Woods and Tyler Breeze still kicking in the company. So the match gets thrown out because of Rusev gone and killing them. Rusev just comes out here, cuts a promo, and what I assume is Bulgarian. Who knows what he said? Something about being a super athlete. That's all I could gather because he said that in English pretty much. But yeah, this wasn't really a match, so there's no rating for it. But yeah, these three guys. I mean, Rusev has moved on to AEW. He's now Miro. He's also on Twitch. I don't watch AEW Dynamite, but I've heard that Miro's booking on there is not great. So seeing Rusev be a killer here at this point is nice to see. Xavier Woods, I mean, what can we say about Xavier Woods? In one of the most successful tag teams of the modern kind of last couple years, the New Day, which is probably much more than I thought Xavier Woods was ever going to accomplish in this company. Has a PhD in educational psychology, something near to my heart. Becoming a teacher and stuff like that. Learn a lot of educational psychology. Tyler Breeze still with the company. Recently had an NXT title run with Fandango. But Tyler Breeze, I feel, is another example of a missed opportunity in WWE. Really talented. Really looking forward to seeing his match with Jushin Liger again. Watched that back in the day. We'll get to it probably on this show at some point as we move forward. But yeah, missed opportunity for Tyler Breeze. Xavier Woods succeeded, and I guess a missed opportunity for Rusev. Did some good stuff, got it over, but they just kept putting him in cuck angles for some reason. So our main event of the evening. It is Adrian Neville versus Bo Dallas for the NXT Championship in a ladder match. Bo Dallas is your champion. And there's this hype package for Bo beforehand, and I don't know if it's WWE hype package bias talking, but I thought the Bo gimmick was really good. Like, the way he cut his promos, the delivery of it, that like high-pitched, squeaky voice that he spoke in, and that like pompous attitude he had, I thought that was really good. But we all know what happens to Bo. We'll get there. They bring Shawn Michaels out with the belt, pop the marks. People start just chanting HB Shizzle for some reason. Shawn just goes on a tangent. It's a really weird promo. He's fucking out of his mind here. Don't really... it was just, Shawn Michaels is iconic with ladder matches and everything like that. That was why he was here. And this was the first ladder match in NXT history. They keep talking a lot about how Adrian Neville and Bo Dallas both have never been in ladder matches. I wrote that some of the camera work on this show is questionable. I spoke about it earlier, but there was a lot of missed shots all over the place. Don't really know what was going on. Neville just bumps like crazy for Bo. Just all over the place. Makes Bo look real sick, having Neville bump all over for him. They just keep bumping a bunch on the back, on the outside. I always like when, in a ladder match, they, pin their opponent under the ladder and start to climb it. It never really works, but it's a really good idea, I think. And then Neville tips the ladder over, causing Bo to fall off, kind of into the rope. But then, the ladder keeps falling and just bonks him in the head. Looked a little painful. Bo has some really good, clotheslines, lariats. It could just be Neville, selling like a boss. Neville does this, like, springboard off of the ropes, jumps onto the ladder to stop Bo from winning. Bo buckle bombs Neville into the ladder that's, like, set up in a corner. Neville hits the red arrow on Bo, who's lying on a ladder. I like that they did it that way instead of, like, the ladder being on top of Bo and, like, Neville having to take most of that. Like, that's always a little silly. It's better to have, like, Bo lying on the ladder, drives into his back, probably hurts like a bitch. It, like, shoot hurts like a bitch. And Neville, like, wins, like, climbs up the ladder because Bo rolled out of the ring after that red arrow on the ladder. And, like, Neville's, like, climbing up the ladder doing the old slow wrestler climb, and he's, like, fumbling around with the bell, and, like, Bo gets back into the ring. I'm like, oh shit, okay, Bo's about to cut him off, match is about to keep going. Bo's, like, trying to get up there, and Neville just yanks the belt off and wins, and I was really shocked, and I actually forgot that Neville won this. I thought Bo won this. So that really got me, and yeah, I kind of popped for that. So yeah, it was a good match, but I will be honest, there wasn't a lot of notes for it because I wasn't really paying that much attention because I was looking into how to host podcasts for this thing if I do choose to do that in the future. But what I did see, and I mean, I saw most of it, there were some good spots. I think the right man won here, as much as the Bo gimmick was, I think, pretty good. Having Neville win here was great. And yeah, I gave it 3 3/4 stars. And what can we say about Bo Dallas and Adrian Neville? Bo Dallas went on to kind of do nothing on the main roster, which I think we all expected, and that was just how it was going to be. The Bo Dallas gimmick, I guess, just was never really going to work. As good as it was, it's a bit too nuanced for Vince's show, I think. Adrian Neville, they kind of squandered him. They tried to position him as, like, the ace of the new cruiserweight division, the king of the cruiserweights, that bastard Adrian Neville. But, like, he ended up kind of falling out with the company, sitting out his contract for a while. But now he's in AEW as Pac. Just recently returned. It seems to be feuding with Eddie Kingston. That's some exciting stuff. I do look forward to watching whatever match they end up having. But yeah, so Neville, has gone on to probably still succeed. Bo is still in the company, but he hasn't done much. I remember he was in the Social Outcast at some point. It's probably the most he's done. Just employed because he's Bray's brother, I guess. Crazy that Bo was an NXT champion, and I don't think Bray ever was. But that's just kind of how it was. I'm not really sure what they saw in Bo, as great as the gimmick was in the first place, even in NXT, but, fair fucks to him. So overall, this was a good show. In hindsight, like, knowing what NXT takeovers were going to become, it's not as good as any of them, and probably, like, back, if I watched this show back then, I probably would have thought this was fucking crazy, the best show ever, especially compared to whatever WWE was doing at the time. But honestly, it probably, looking back, it's not that great. It's a good show. It's a solid show, but, like, it gets better. It gets much better. But it was a solid first outing. Fix up the camera work a bit. They will. It's WWE. Match of the night, easily, was Sami Zayn vs Cesaro. Great match. And yeah, it was a solid show. If I was to compare this with Wrestle Kingdom, which we spoke about earlier, don't know why, they're two very different shows at two very different eras of two very different companies, but I would say, as an overall show, like start to finish, I prefer NXT Arrival. There isn't quite the dips that Wrestle Kingdom 1 has, but Wrestle Kingdom 1 has 3 absolutely fantastic matches in a row that are all better, or maybe I prefer Zayn and Cesaro over Kawada and Nakamura. I'm not really sure. But, like, 3 great singles matches in a row on Wrestle Kingdom 1. So it's a bit hard to say, but as a whole show, I reckon NXT Arrival's better. But who's comparing? Me, obviously. I probably shouldn't, but I am. But yeah, that's the first episode of the Crimson Mask podcast. I don't know, like, how this all is gonna work, if it sounds any good, if a one-person podcast even sounds like a good thing, if me reading off my notes and kind of ad-libbing it as we go is a good way of doing this. I'll work it out. I'll listen to this back, because I gotta edit it and cut bits out and move things around and upload it to youtube.com. That's where you'll see it, and that's where you'll see the next episode and the next episode and the next episode. So thank you so much for watching. Please do let me know if you have any feedback about how I should change things. Is there audio problems? Is there me talking problems? Do you never want to hear me talk again? Do you think I should host this on actual podcast sites, like, you know, if you want to actually listen to this while you're working or whatever? Do you think there should be another person involved with this? Let me know in the comments, or message me if you know me. This has been Crimson Ash for the Crimson Mask podcast. Alright, we'll see you next time.